welcome to the Afghanistan Project Podcast. I'm your host, Beth Bailey, and I'm here today with Megan, who's asked to just be identified by her first name for a little bit of anonymity as we talk about the case that broke her heart. And Megan, your case is really different from the ones that I've recorded so far and that I kind of expected to hear, but it also makes so much sense when I think about all of the things that have been foisted upon volunteers over the last 4 years. So, without further ado, I want to let you tell your story.
Thanks, Beth. I appreciate the opportunity. I'm going to use a pseudonym for the woman, Miriam. I received her case as what we call case managers in the evacuation or relocation community, maybe a month or two after the news. Pulled in by a friend, and Miriam was an educated woman who served as an interpreter for several years for the U.S. military. Single woman. Her father had passed away years before that, and then she had an aging mother and only child. And so she was looking for help to get out. Couldn't leave behind her mother, who was physically handicapped and had dementia. But there were other challenges that she was faced with. One was her passport had expired, and the other was she hadn't even gotten chief of mission approval, kind of the first step in the special immigrant visa SIV process. Was helping her navigate that, helping her try and get her passport renewed, trying to get COM approval. Her request for COM approval was denied because her supervisor, who had just gotten evacuated himself, didn't respond within the 7 days. She had one opportunity to appeal it. So working with her, working with him, who he was in a third country, right, to try and his story is another interesting one, Beth, to get that submitted. So got it submitted, got her the COM approval. And then the next step of course, was documentarily complete. So needed to be able to get her a new passport or a passport extension. So jump through a lot of hoops, moved some mountains to get that done as well, to get her in the pipeline to be manifested for a flight. As a single woman, her challenges were really difficult because I don't think it's any secret, right? There's no way to get unaccompanied women through Hamid Karzai International Airport, HKIA, out of Kabul. So I had to work to do other creative measures to get her out a different way. And so did get her passport extended before we were able to do that. Trying to work on getting her moved. It took a long time because of the complexities along the way. The group I volunteer with, we provided her with financial support, being a single woman, not able to work, but also more, I think the emotional support was really needed for her, being confined to the home, having been a working woman, not having a means of income, uncertainty, neighbors that knew she lived with her mom in the house, supporting her through that. The day came, it was a good, gosh, year and a half ago when we were able to get her moved out. Got her, oh, sorry, AirPod here. Got her moved to the what we call lily pad, right, for processing. Once she got there, she would send me videos of herself crying. She posted to social media. I'm trying to figure out what's going on. Referred her to mental health services, encouraged her to get involved in volunteer work there at the lily pad just to keep her mind active and such. And after hearing from her 10, 20, 30 times a day, she went radio silent for 2 months. And so I reached out to her former supervisor who hadn't heard from her, and then called in probably the biggest favor, well, definitely the biggest favor throughout this last 4 years of Afghanistan to find out what happened. And she voluntarily repatriated to Afghanistan. And just sitting here talking about it now, thinking about it now, there are so many questions that I'm never going to have an answer to. So I messaged her after the 2 weeks and said, "Where are you and how are you?" She told me she went back to Afghanistan, but that I could never begin to understand. And then I started getting pieces of information from other places that she had left behind a sister in Afghanistan, that she has a brother in the US, she has family in another part of the US as well. So trying to put together the pieces and still trying to come to peace with the fact that I'm never going to know her full story. I'm going to never know from her, and that's because I chose to close the door. Because for me, mission complete is when you get someone out of Afghanistan to a third country for processing. And so I had to close the door on the relationship with her. But the questions I'm always going to wonder about is why did she tell me this story about having any siblings? Did her mother really die? 2 years ago. Um, and feel free to prompt me, Beth. I'm just trying to think through all the what ifs. And then she told me that I'd never could understand. She called me probably 50 times in one day, and I said, if you don't stop, I'll block you. So trying to take a firm stance with her, just because I knew if I opened that door again, it would be based on trying to reestablish the relationship wasn't going to be good for either one of us. It would involve financial commitment again, supporting someone that maybe not be at all well, isn't who I thought they were. So I don't know if being a sister back in Afghanistan is what caused her to go back. I don't know if it's because after having lived under the Taliban regime for the second time for several years, being in a place away from that was too scary, too uncertain. She was actually scheduled to be resettled in the city and state that I live in. So it was all lined up, and she went back. So not understanding all the different triggers made her do what she did. And then you start to question yourself, where did I fail her along the way? What did I not do? What cues were there that I did not pick up on that could have this have a different outcome? And so going through, of course, self-reflection, maybe getting some answers or what I think were the answers to some of my questions I have, and then making peace with the fact that I'm not going to get answers to the other ones. And I think trying to forgive her for her actions, knowing that yes, I'm not Afghan. There are things that I can never even begin to understand. And I think forgiving myself maybe for any missteps I had along the way, any time that I was maybe impatient with her or tried so hard to help that I helped too much in a way that she felt she had to tell me a certain narrative to continue to get that support. Um, I don't begrudge Miriam and the things that she said or did to me. Of course, just want it to have the opposite outcome, because I know for every one Miriam that we were able to get out, there are probably 500, right, that would do anything to have that chance to have gotten out to freedom and have been so close to being resettled. So that's the case that broke my heart because we all, I think, want happy endings. We want good outcomes. We want truth and transparency along the way. And so many of these things that I'm not going to get. I don't know. I don't think she will ever see this. But if she does, I would just want Miriam to know I don't harbor any ill will. And I hope that she can forgive me for anything that I may have done to her along the way.
I always just feel humbled when I hear from people like you who are doing the things that just really can wreck you. And that's what we're here for, is to talk about those stories. So thank you to everybody who listened, and Tasha Kaur, and hope to see you back here again soon.
Shakur, Beth.